What's up, guys? It's your crew, the Teach Me Tuesday crew. We back at you with another episode. And guys, it's been heavy out there, in the world with everything that's going on. And it's kind of a heavy topic. Let's talk about what if the market crashes? People was thinking, especially after I would say within the last year or two, like man, the market's gonna crash. The market's gonna crash. I don't know, how people come to that conclusion or how they draw. They analyze that interest rates were going up and this is going on, that's going on. Man, something's about to happen. The market's gonna crash. Well, we're going to jump into that. We're going to dive into it and talk about, is it even possible for the market to crash? So, guys, again, your crew is here. I hope you guys enjoy each and every video, and we're going to jump right into it. Wilmot, LaShawn,
Let's go.
is the market crashing? What are y'all seeing out there? Are we in a crashable market? What's going
Crash
on?
them.
So, I mean, I think that's such a valid question right now, right? I think a lot of times what I've definitely been hearing, that especially this year, now that, we're in December of 2025 and rates have actually came down a lot from where they were last year and where they were even at
Right.
the beginning of the year. A lot of people's opposition was, hey, I'm going to wait because it feels like the market is crashing. So let's just unpack that part just in general. Is I feel like people was saying that because they were seeing higher rates, they were seeing the home prices. Some houses have definitely, and Wilma, you can probably speak on this, sitting on the market a little bit longer. And so it felt like with inflation and just the rise in cost of just tariffs and everything else that we were in some type of recession or crash, right? And so I think it's really good to really have these types of conversations to kind of, get people to understand like, well, if the market did actually crash, like what does that look like for the consumer, right? How would that impact them when they go to, really try to enter into that home ownership space and start looking and shopping for homes? Because kind of like what we talked about before too, we got supply and demand, right? When you
Mhm.
have low inventory, because technically we're in a low inventory environment, right? I know this is not a market update, but Wilma, you can kind of speak on that. I mean, I know we got some houses on the market, but we're still relatively historically low, right?
Right, right. There's still a pot, right? So we're still lacking homes, and you're seeing builders continue to build. Sellers are still putting their homes on the market. Homes are still being sold as we speak. I think that we have to look at, you know, uh, I think we a lot of times compare it to what did it look like in 2008, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
In 2008, homeowners had record levels of equity, and the majority have fixed, affordable mortgage payments.
Hmm.
F for a crash, you need, a massive flood of distressed homes that hit the market, right? So, I guess and let me flip that. They didn't have record levels of equity in 2008. They have
Right.
that now, okay? Let me make sure I'm clear with that. They didn't have that in 2008, but we do now. We have a lot of fixed, payments now, okay, on their mortgages. So, it's a different market. It's not the same like it was in 2008. We are seeing what we I like to call it a softening of the market.
Hmm.
Prices are coming down slightly. Also, you're starting to see, homes sit on the market longer. So that's kind of the market we're in right now when it comes to a market that is maybe a little slower than it was maybe, let's say, a year or two ago. So,
Mhm.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a little bit, right? Because I feel like that can be misleading to the consumer because of
mhm,
course, our memory gets very short term because of course you think about COVID days when houses were flying off the market, people were buying them sight unseen, like less than 24 hours the house goes under contract or sometimes they go under contract before they even hit the market. Versus now, if a house
right.
is sitting for 3 months, 6 months, or more, then that's kind of more, alerting more people's senses of like, oh my gosh, what's going on? As the market crashes, these homes are not selling, right? And that's not
Right.
necessarily true. It's
Right.
more
Right.
so that what I've seen, I know, especially here in the Charleston market, is that sellers are a little bit more apprehensive to sell their homes. New construction is a huge competitor to the seller as well. And that's causing, and then buyers, because of where we are rate wise, are also a little bit more apprehensive too to enter into the market because they're concerned about cost and their payment. So people are just not moving or reacting as quickly. But that's not necessarily the same thing as the market is crashing, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, no, not at all. I mean, um, I think what people also don't realize is that there were more safety nets and guidelines and regulations put in place due to
Yeah.
the crash in 2008, to where now lending standards are a whole lot tighter. They're if you bought a house, if you bought a house since the crash of 2008, in the past couple of years, you'll see that the process or the amount of documentation is a little bit more tedious
Mm.
than what it was before. I mean, there are several guidelines to eliminate certain risks, and then also to avoid and eliminate predatory lending, to where there can be a an epidemic of where people can't afford, these balloon payments that were hitting when the housing market crashed, and people are truly being um, approved for what they can afford in today's market. So yeah, so I mean it's very unlikely for that for that to happen. Even I can say ever happen again, without some drastic economical change that affects the masses. So to answer that question, nah, it's very unlikely for a housing market crash. But if they're in the event that for some reason something happens, who would be affected? Who's
Mm.
mostly affected?
Mm.
Is it the person who just bought a house within the last year, or is it an investor who has multiple properties? I guess Sharon, who would you say would kind of be like, I guess, most heavily affected by a housing crash?
I would definitely say, definitely investors would definitely have a little bit of a sting because their cash flow might be a little bit less because most people, depending on if they're renting or if they are paying something outside of their primary residence, those kind of get paid second or
Mm.
not as first or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's definitely risk there. That homeowner, right? It puts them in a very peculiar situation if they can't make their payments and things like that. So that can then either cause the house to go into foreclosure, where either that could be a benefit to a buyer coming in looking for a deal or an investor coming in looking for a deal too. So it just kind of depends on that consumer. But at the end of the day, when I really think about this whole market crash or versus not crashing, in all reality, and my 2 cents that I always like to add, it it's not that it doesn't matter to me. I think what is more important is how you are prepared for just how the
Mm.
economy is moving. Right?
Yeah,
Are you putting yourself in a position, whether you're the homeowner or whether you're the seller or whether you're the buyer, are you putting yourself in a position to be able to move and buy and still kind of surf the wave and ride the wave as the market corrects itself? I mean, I know one might use the term softening, but really I feel like the market is really just correcting itself because
Mm.
people, gained a ton of equity during COVID because demand was so high. And now that demand is kind of leveling out, not that it's truly low, but it's just kind of leveling out, the market is really just correcting itself and it just may feel a little different.
Right. Right. I agree. I like that terminology, correction. It's the same thing with the stock market. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, you never see it just go straight like that all the time. There's going to be little corrections, and then another upward push, and then another little correction, and then another upward push. But the
Mhm.
trend if you look at real estate, has been going up for the last I don't know how many years. So,
Mhm.
but there are little corrections inside of that trend. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and those corrections are, we don't see it. It's not a drastic correction because it's like 5 to 10% in a normal market, as opposed to a 30 to 40% correction. We did see huge corrections on the plus side for those who own homes. Once COVID did arise and demand for houses skyrocketed, and we saw equity people, home values go up, 50 to some in some cases 65% of what they were just appraising for less than in 2020, 2019. So we did see that huge correction, but that was a kind of a once in a not once in a lifetime, but you don't see that regularly. Those corrections are like minimum 5 to 10%, annually. But yeah, you got something like you want to say something. What's up?
No, I didn't want to interrupt you, Gavin.
Oh,
That's why I was like, whenever you finish. But so Gavin, y'all know me, right? So I like to look at things a little differently sometimes, right?
mhm.
So I'm an optimist, capitalist, you know what I'm saying? So, but I like that you corrected me with that, LaShawn, with the softening terminology and said correction. Guys, there are people, there are investors that's out there. They love to see corrections, right? I know we always looking at the bad sides. Like, oh man, the market's going down. Oh man, but it's some guys out there like this. You know what
Oh
I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
It's some guys out there, some guys and girls out there that are like, oh man, bro, that thing dropped to here. I'm gonna buy that sucker. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
if it go here, I'm gonna buy this. Or you got guys like Warren Buffett. That's the only time he buys. Like
Mhm.
Yeah,
he's like, if it's a good value, oh, that's all he does. It's a good value. I'm gonna buy. And that's how he
yeah.
made his not millions but billions.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
I
mean
love
that
that.
with a B.
it's just
You
like
know,
just like even with stocks, when stocks are doing bad,
right?
the stock market, that's the time to buy to
Abs-
so that you catch it on the upturn. Um,
right, right,
and
right.
it's no
So it's
different with with real estate. If there was a crash to happen, you're gonna find homes that are now being priced at market value or less. You're going to
mm-hmm,
Mhm.
find sellers who, in order to have to sell, who are able to sell, they're going to be more prone to making sure their house is up to date, um, and that they're taking price cuts because in a market to where there's a crash, homes are going to sit on the market a whole lot longer than what we're averaging today. You're talking about homes sitting, up to a year or longer,
right,
um,
right.
because people have their homes overpriced when
Mm,
values they're not gonna plummet, you know, instantly, but that home values are gonna, stabilize, and you're not gonna see those increases. You're not gonna see appraisers out there giving, you know, giving people the numbers technically that they kind of want to see, or they're hoping to see. It's going to be more, baseline is going to be very streamlined
mm-hmm,
to where, hey, that house that sold in 2022 for $100,000 more than where today's market is, I can't, there's no comparison to that. it,
right.
it is what it is today, and that's how it looks in that kind of market.
I mean, that's a good point. So, like, as we wrap up for today, and we actually think about like what's the best move, right? What's the best move right now, regardless of the market condition and direction that it's moving in. So, whether you're buying or you're staying put, I think the focus has always been and will probably always be affordability, right? Being
Mhm.
able to make sure that whatever it is that you are looking to do, buy or sell, that it's one going to be advantageous for you on either sides of the coin, right? And so to me, once again, preparation is everything. You want to make sure that you're in a position where your employment or your income is tight, your credit is where it needs to be, you have the capital, or the reserves to do the things that you need to do. And then it's all about timing and strategy. To me, real estate is a mindset, because as a buyer, to me, this is a great thing. I think moving into a buyer's market, in the market is, correcting itself, and you see home prices slowly trickling down. You have more motivation from that seller. For a buyer standpoint, and even an investor, you can get a good deal. You can get the house a little lower. You can definitely get some closing costs, and maybe willing to fix a lot more things, which is all in your benefit, right? So to me, it's not a bad thing. To me, I think there's a way. So what do they say? When life gives you lemons, you can make lemonade out of the situation of wherever the market is doing right now. So I don't know, guys, if you guys want to add anything else before we wrap up, but I think that, that's what people should do, is just always be prepared.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think today was a good topic. I mean, like I said, people get scared to talk about, possible crash. Are we promoting or saying that there's going to be one? Absolutely not. But we just wanted to hit on the topic and let people know that, there are pros, cons, and it's not. The regulations in place today are pretty much in place so that that's avoidable. Guys, we appreciate y'all tuning in. Another episode of Teach Me Tuesday. And if you guys got any topics, anything else you want us to hit on, definitely drop us a comment. And we'll see you next week.
All right, have a good one.
Peace.